Well, good morning, everybody. I am Sue Daly, Director of Technology and Innovation here at Tech UK. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you today to our fifth Digital Ethics Summit here at Tech UK. For those of you that have been with us before, welcome back. For those of you that haven't, welcome. Really great to have you with us. We have an amazing packed agenda for you today with some amazing thought leaders, inspiring speakers, keynotes to keep you going throughout the day. So it's a real pleasure to have you all with us and hope you're all doing well. Anthony Walker, Tech UK's Deputy CEO, will shortly kick off the summit with some opening remarks. But firstly, a few housekeeping comments and remarks from myself. Firstly, a huge thank you to our sponsors, who without which today just isn't possible. To our headline sponsor, Sage, to our knowledge partner, Quantum Black, and to our breakout session sponsors, Twitter, Software Stereo, and Clifford Chance, a huge thank you. And you'll be able to hear from our sponsors throughout the day because they'll be providing their expertise in a number of different sessions. Also, thank you to our partners who we're thrilled again to be working with through the summit this year. They are the Ada Lovelace Institute, the British Academy, COGEX, the Levenhulme Centre for Future Intelligence, Socotum, the Alan Turing Institute, the Open Data Institute, and the Royal Society. And our media partner this year is Tech Monitors. So thank you to all those partners. And I know you'll agree that's a long list of partners, which is brilliant. So as I said, we've got a packed agenda for you today, a mix of some great keynotes, plenaries, and breakouts, which will run up to 5:10. Don't worry, you'll have breaks along the way, and we will be with you every step of the way. We'll also be tweeting all day live using @TechUK hashtag digital ethics. So please get involved in the conversation with what you see and what you hear, because this is really about sharing the learning and sharing the thinking. So we've got great content, but how do you access it? I hear you cry. So throughout the day, you'll be able to use the agenda tab on the menu on the left to navigate to the correct session. So find the session that you're looking for that's currently live, or your preferred breakout when we get to the breakout sessions, and just click on the go to plenary or take me to the session. And don't worry if you miss the session or you're torn between which one to go to. All sessions except our very last one of the day will be recorded and will be shared later, so you can go back and watch the one that you really didn't want to miss. We also want to hear from you throughout the day, so please submit your questions through the Q&A function, and we'll try to get through as many as we can during the day. Now, as many of you will know who have been at the summit before, we like to take this time to also give back. And we will be fundraising for the charity Crisis again this year throughout today. And this is for the Crisis at Christmas appeal. Now, many of you will know the work of Crisis at Christmas, and of course, throughout the year, Crisis helps people get out of homelessness and really support them on that journey. This year, a donation of just £29.06 can help provide a safe place to stay, a hot meal, a Christmas dinner, support, advice, companionship, and also support Crisis' help all year round, which includes training and education to help someone end their homelessness for good. So I'm sure you'll agree, particularly right now, particularly in this cold nights, if we can help this important work of Crisis, if you can help, anything you can give today would be so much appreciated. You can support this amazing charity through the link that will be displayed as an announcement on the bottom of the screen during the day. So please, it will be open, of course, all day and beyond. We at Tech UK have kicked off the Raising the Money appeal. But if you can give as well, anything you can, please, that would be absolutely wonderful. And we'll check in towards the end of the day to see how that's going. Right, I think that's all my housekeeping for the day. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited to get going. It's going to be a fabulous day. We're always really excited about the Digital Ethics Summit here at Tech UK. And I think this year's agenda is just outstanding. We've got so many amazing speakers. So let's get going. We hope that you enjoy the day, that you encounter new ideas, hear from new people, and feel inspired by all our amazing speakers. So I will see you later, but it's just for me to hand over now to Tech UK's Deputy CEO, Anthony Walker, who's going to formally kick off the. Over to you.
Thank you, Sue, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to this fifth annual Tech UK Digital Ethics Summit. We are sorry we're not back in person with you all at our usual venue this morning, with its fabulous views over the Thames. We would still prefer to be in person rather than online, but the team are in the office this year, albeit in different rooms, but I guess that's progress of sorts. And I have even put on a tie for the occasion. So this is the fifth year that we've gathered to talk about digital ethics. 5 years of talk, and yet the list of ethical questions and concerns hasn't got any shorter. So what should we make of that? Success or failure? Glass half full or glass half empty? Well, if you don't have your own opinions already, I'm sure you will by the end of the day, because this is very much about taking stock, about understanding what has and hasn't been achieved and what needs to happen next. And a lot has and hasn't happened over the last 5 years. When we first started out, this was really one of the first major events focused on the question of digital ethics and how we can find a way to live with machines with capabilities that far exceed our own. I'm not going to claim that we started a trend, but this year, the BBC's Reith Lectures has picked up the baton, asking how we can live with artificial intelligence. In his first lecture, broadcast last week, Professor Stuart Russell, who is founder of the Centre for Human Compatible AI at the University of California, described the development of AI as the biggest event in human history and one that should be feared unless we can learn to avoid the risks. His first lecture brilliantly explained both what AI is, the distinction between the narrow AI we have today and the general purpose AI that could emerge sometime in the future, and the way in which philosophers since Aristotle have thought about the perils of living with omnipotent gods and machines. If your instinct is to dismiss this as mere doom-mongering about hypothetical technologies that don't exist, I'd urge you to listen to the whole series, particularly the second lecture about AI in warfare, where I think we can all agree there are clear and present dangers. But as Professor Russell makes clear, it's not anti-AI to want to talk about and understand risk. Quite the opposite. If we want to harness and maximize the benefits of powerful new technologies for humanity, we need to think about what can go wrong, learn from experience, adapt, and prepare. And this is what today is all about. We've more than 50 speakers from a wide range of backgrounds across business, academia, government, and civil society who will be sharing their views on how digital technologies are being deployed in different contexts, the ethical and regulatory challenges that exist today or may emerge in the future, and what we need to do to ensure that we build and use digital technologies with purpose to benefit humanity and the planet on which we depend. These are no small questions, and there are plenty of reasons to think that we're making slow progress compared to the extraordinarily rapid rate of technological innovation. However, if I think back 5 years, I believe we've massively expanded our understanding of the complex ethical challenges at play and what we need to do to anticipate and prepare for future change. Our first event in 2017 focused on capability and institution building. Many of the people in the room that day and with us online today were instrumental in establishing the Centre for Data Ethics and Innovation and what became the Ada Lovelace Institute. As we'll hear today, these institutions have gone on to provide deep insight and practical advice on how complex ethical questions should be addressed by both public bodies and private companies. I'd like to pay particular tribute to the rapid and valuable work the Ada Lovelace Institute did to address some of the digital ethics questions that emerged through the pandemic. But Ada and CDEI are not alone. If you look across the spectrum of partner organizations supporting today's events across academia and even in Westminster and the excellent APPG on AI, over the last 5 years, we've built a deep level of capability to understand these complex issues, and we've grown our capacity to support the translation of these ideas into process changes and policy making. And I'm delighted that the CDEI has chosen today to launch its new AI assurance roadmap. But I'd also argue that many private sector organizations have also recognized the scale and importance of these questions. For sure, there's a lot to learn from the last 10 years. No one is arguing against the need for a new online safety bill. The global uptake of social media has had some profound unintended consequences that have to be addressed. But it's also provided an opportunity to learn and to think about what it takes to develop and deploy technology safely. And many companies are thinking hard about how they can avoid previous pitfalls and mitigate against unintended outcomes. But thinking and doing are different things. While the last 5 years has seen an explosion in ethical frameworks and principles, it's quite reasonable for skeptics to question the efficacy of so-called soft ethics and to argue the time has come for regulators to take charge. So is the call for regulation a signal that digital ethics has failed? I'm sure that will be a question that many will be asking, but I'm not sure it's the right question, because ethics and regulation were never binary alternatives. Rather, digital ethics is a necessary underpinning and accompaniment for good regulation. By which I mean, to be effective, good regulation needs to be fully informed by strong, well thought out ethical framework. And regulatory compliance cannot be the only guide for getting things right. Even with a strong regulatory framework, we need a strong and widely accepted understanding of what it means to build and use technology ethically. And that's why I believe the progress we've made in the last 5 years will be fundamental to the progress we need to make in the next 5 years. As Professor Russell argued in his lecture, there's been a sea change in the younger generation of ML researchers in the last 5 years who he says no longer just have dollar signs in their eyes, but now really want to make the world a better place. He also sees large commercial companies who are wanting to work more openly with independent researchers to get technology right. And if we use what we've learned about digital ethics intelligently, we can develop new regulatory frameworks that support innovation, whilst also ensuring that we build a better future that works for people, society, economy, and planet. But most importantly, we cannot throw up our arms and give up. We cannot just say regulate and be damned. We cannot uninvent what we already know. I believe passionately that we have to keep talking across disciplines and across the public and private sectors and civil society. And we have to keep working towards a common understanding of how to live with intelligent machines. So I hope today's discussion will be genuinely insightful and useful, because we are going to cover a lot of ground. This morning's discussion will span government AI policy and a review of the last 5 years, the challenge of disinformation, the role of digital AI, algorithmic transparency, and the opportunities for digital twins. In the afternoon, we'll talk about the use of technology in policing, how we keep the internet open for democratic debate, productivity and the economy, and the ultimate political scapegoat, the mutant algorithm. We'll then go on to talk about regulation, AI and its role in relation to climate change, and how we build trustworthy technology. And finally, a session that I think a lot of us are looking forward to, what we can learn about the future from the writers of science fiction. But before we go to the next session with Minister for Tech and Digital Economy, Chris Philp, I would like to say some very personal thank yous. Firstly, to our sponsors, Sage, Clifford Chance, Suprasteria, Twitter, and Quantum Black, without whom these events just wouldn't be possible. I'd also like to thank our partners, the Ada Lovelace Foundation, the Academy, COGEX, the Leverhulme Centre, Soccerton, the Alan Turing Institute, the ODI, and the Royal Society. And last but certainly not least, to my colleagues, Emily Sundorf, Catherine Holden, Noreen Aldworth, and of course Sue Daly, who have been the masterminds of today's event. And finally, as Sue mentioned, given the timing of this event shortly before Christmas, it's been a tradition of ours to use today's event to raise some money for the Crisis at Christmas appeal. So if you are at home today, please, it would be great if you could join us in contributing maybe a few pounds that you'd have spent on travel or coffee today to contribute towards the appeal. Details on how you can contribute will appear throughout the day and on Twitter.